Well, hey kids, Rio here. Welcome back to the channel. Today is Wednesday. So today, of course, is the next in my series of film reviews. And this is a newer film that came out recently, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about this. It's a film called Death Streamer. So Death Streamer came out in end of September of 2024. And this is a new film from Full Moon Pictures. If you're not familiar with Full Moon Pictures, then I need to talk to you about Charles Band. Charles Band is an amazing human being. I've met him many times. This is one of his productions. It's a good time, you guys. You've heard of his work. Things like all the Puppet Master movies, all that kind of stuff. Yes, Charles Band. Now, I am a really big fan of movies that use new media as part of their story. Okay, I love that idea. And we've seen quite a few of them, both short films and features that have kind of gone that way. As you can guess from the title, Death Streamer is, it's a vampire who is live streaming his lunch. And a lot of people just think it's fake. The site is super popular. He's got tons of subscribers and tons of followers. And people are just all about it, right? But we have this other group of podcasters. They do kind of like spooky creepypasta, kind of podcast talking about, Victorian murders and that kind of thing, right? And they're called the Church of Chills, okay? And the Church of Chills, the people that run the Church of Chills podcast, are convinced this guy's fake. Unlike a lot of people, I would imagine. And so they start, kind of piggybacking off of him, kind of ride on his own popularity, linking their things. And this doesn't go well.
Like, subscribe, join our Patreon page. Smash those buttons.
Take a look at this.
And
There's a video that's got over 500,000 hits since yesterday. And growing.
Our writer-director is Charles Band. And like I said, I love this man. Interestingly enough, Church of Chills is sort of like a roadshow that he does. They'll do screenings and lectures and things like this, and he brings props on tour, so you can actually see, the original Puppet Master, puppets and things like that. I met him on one of those shows years ago, and he's so nice, you guys. You ever get a chance to actually meet Charles Band, just do it. He's very, very cool. But, of course, right, okay, so he's been doing this for many, many years. A lot of work he did. His father was a producer, and his brother is a musician who does a lot of his scores a lot of the time. A lot of, early work, for sure. So, he's the writer and the director. On this particular film. Other things, of course, you would know would be like the Puppet Master films. Don't forget about Corona Zombies and Barbie and Kendra Save the Tiger King. Charles Band, ladies and gentlemen.
who do I look like to you? Stanley Kubrick? Viral marketing, you can tell. Can we please get back to work?
Hellfire House is live streaming again.
Doesn't that mean that somehow or other this is all real?
Yeah.
Now, we do have another writer that is credited with this. Neil Marshall Stevens is one of the other writers on this. He's being credited under the name Roger Barron. Now, why that is, I don't know. But he has worked on previous films with Charles Band. But notably, he worked on 13 Ghosts. Okay, so there's your writing team. And then, of course, Charles Band directing. Our director of photography is Thomas L. Calloway. He's got credits going back to 1985. He's got several awards. Specifically, he won one for 2005 for a film called Broke Sky. Now, we do have a few people listed for FX. Okay, it's not just one dude. But I do want to call out Alan Tuskus. Okay. Worked on 13 Ghosts. Worked on Pulp Fiction. And as a member of the K&B effects team, worked on Austin Power and Goldmember. Okay, so this guy knows his stuff. Our music is being done by Jonathan Walter. Couldn't find a whole lot for him. He did work on a previous film with Charles Band called Quadrant. Get your drinks ready, because that's going to be our drinking game. He also worked on, there was apparently a horror version of The Little Mermaid. And apparently he was a composer on that as well.
We're gonna let people see it.
Are you fucking crazy?
You really think you're gonna be able to outrun this guy if he wants to find you?
Don't tell me you suddenly don't believe it. This is what's happening.
Okay, so let's talk cast. We're going to start with the Church of Chills podcasters, because they really are the primary characters you see for most of the movie. Okay? So we have Alexander, Edwina, and Juniper are our 3 podcasters. Our main guy, of course, Alexander, is being played by Aaron McDaniel. One of the things I found interesting, he's done a lot of short films, but he also did, it was a show on ID called A Crime to Remember, as part of one of the recreations. He was an actor in one of the recreations. Get your drinks ready. This will be a game as well. You have Edwina, who is being played by Emma Masalone. Okay. You, again, a lot of short films, but you would also know her apparently from Yellowstone. She was apparently in that. I haven't seen that myself. And then Juniper is Caitlin Moore, who's actually a director on a number of short films listed in her credits. And she also did a crime recreation for America's Most Wanted. So there you are. It seems like all of them actually had credits at some point for the crime recreations. Most of them, their credits start around 2013, 2015. But it seems like they all had some involvement in shows like that. And we have our vampire. Technically, he's credited like as unknown. Like the character doesn't have a name, but the character does have a name. But the vampire is being played by Sean Ullman. And you would see them in a lot of TV movies and a lot of short films. You know, these guys all seem to have a lot of that going on. And they all seem to be newer, like kind of new-ish to the industry. Which I always like that. Charles Band tends to try to bring in, you know, people and develop a good core group. And apropos of nothing, this guy also did a crime recreation. he did a recreation for the show Snapped. So there you are. There are a lot of other characters that we see throughout the course of the film. Some of them aren't, they're very long. But they have, basically he's throwing these like parties, and then he picks someone out of the party. And he's using like the Google glasses, you know, with the little cameras, and you get, right.
There we are. I'm not fucking Van Helsing, Eddie.
So these are all, he picks these people from his party and streams lunch. There's a lot of people that appear in these party scenes, and it was kind of hard to track them all down, because some of the characters don't actually have names, right? They're just kind of in the background, and you don't always get to know who they are. I do want to call one out specifically, only because I found it kind of interesting. So there's 2 cast members from Quadrant that appear in the course of this. And one of the victims, if I looked at this up right, one of the victims that you see in there is a adult entertainer by the name of Maddie May. Her tattoos are undeniable. Beautiful work, by the way. I don't know who did it, but... So there's a lot of... there's weird little cameos, right? Like, one of them is there's a contractor that we meet, where our vampire is talking to this contractor about, I don't know, renovating the house or selling it or something. I don't know. But they're having that conversation. And that person is Lana Barron. Silent Hill was the voice talent, I guess, in the game for Ellie. She's also an award-winning composer, apropos of nothing. So yeah, there's a lot of characters that pop through. There's a librarian that's rather intriguing. So many characters that kind of come and go because most of them are lunch. And so you see a lot of that happen. Mainly we focus on the podcasters themselves and the vampire. And I love the concept of this movie. I love the idea of using this like new media and having this be the crux of the terror, right? It's great. A lot of the vis effects and stuff and a lot of the practical effects, they're pretty good. There's a few moments where you're like, I gotta say, whoever the blood technician was, it looks fantastic. The blood is great. It doesn't look fake at all. It's not quite that Technicolor 3M stuff that you used to see in the old Hammer horrors. No, it's blood, and it looks really good. If anything, I think probably the one complaint I had was in relation to the podcasters. And that is that in the beginning of the film, we get to see their whole intro as their introduction. So you see their podcast intro. Then they begin their podcast, right? Well, they end up having to cut and do a retake on their podcast, right? They don't like the dialogue we're doing or whatever. This page is missing, this kind of thing. So they're like, okay, let's do it again. And then they run the whole intro again. Like their little introduction, a little video, all of that. And that happens a couple of times where every time they're getting ready to go on air, it runs the whole of their intro every single time. Now, realize, of course, that Church of Chills is actually a real thing in that that's Charles Band's kind of roadshow. And I understand them trying to get the name recognition in. I don't think they really had to run that intro repeatedly. I love the actors playing the podcasters. The main guy, Alexander, is, oh my God. He really does remind me of like just a totally self-important podcaster, right? He just has that going on. It's a perfect sell. One question I do have, though, is that they're basically kind of living in a deconsecrated church, and that's where they're doing their podcast from. Very cool. Always wanted one of those, to be honest. I've always wanted to live in one of those. It'd be cool. But isn't that sacred ground? Wouldn't that mean a vampire couldn't come in there? It's deconsecrated. One can make an argument. Just a point. For the most part, I really enjoyed it. I love all of Charles Band's work. I love just the sheer joy that he has in making this stuff. And he's very clever in his stories. He's very creative. I encourage you to go back through any of the Full Moon Features type catalog and look for stuff that he's worked on, especially stuff that was scored by his brother. I'm a big fan. I don't know if this was his strongest film of his catalog, but other than the repeating of the podcast intro, I really didn't have any problems with it. I think that it sold the concept very well. And I think all their actors in it did a really good job. It's definitely on par with anything else I've ever seen from Full Moon. And yeah, I would totally watch it again. It's a good time. We'll do a scale for this one, since this is this one's an actual review. We'll do a scale. So from a 1 to 5, I'm gonna say 3.5. 3.5. Not the best film I've ever seen, certainly not the best Charles Band film I've ever seen, but it's an absolutely watchable and enjoyable movie. And I don't really have any hate for it. It's not too hard to find. Full Moon Features actually has a streaming app, which I have. The streaming app for them, it's the Full Moon is the app, and it's a pay service, but it's not that bad. It's like $10 a month or something. It's not that bad. So if you want to actually just run through his catalog sometime, go ahead and sign up for the Full Moon app, and you can sit streaming for almost their whole catalog is there. So you can pretty much check out anything by them that you want, and it's definitely worth it, I think. So I guess that's it for me for this week. There's a like and subscribe button here somewhere. If you guys want to, sign up and join me to see all the cool stuff I'm going to be doing. I've got some really interesting projects coming up, and I think you guys will dig it. And of course, I will be doing my continuing series of I Like It, and I Don't Care If You Don't. And believe me, you'll find out about some really interesting old movies that maybe you haven't even heard of before. So yeah, join me, and we'll have a good time. Bye.